go to an accident scene every day and see a truck hanging over a bridge.
No! No way!
Well, up and down the North Carolina Outer Banks, the Atlantic is raging, beating the coast with rough surf, causing flooding, closing the highway and the barrier islands, even collapsing houses.
Now, it is not a hurricane causing these problems that sound very much like the issues the area deals with during hurricane season. It's all from a system that has parked off the coast right as they are preparing for the hurricane season. Well, June 1st marks the start of the hurricane season, but anyone who lives where hurricanes hit knows you cannot wait to get ready.
And joining us right now from Nags Head on the Outer Banks is Sam Walker of WOBX.com. Sam, good to talk to you. Most of the time we talk to you when there's a hurricane threatening, but right now we've got this coastal storm, which is causing, it seems like, just as bad of problems. What is the worst so far that you've seen?
Well, you know, nor'easters, coastal storms can do a lot more to the Outer Banks than hurricanes a lot of times because they're much more long duration events. They last longer. This one lasting at least 3 days, possibly even into the weekend as far as the actual effects. The worst we're seeing, though, is really just the overwash that's pushing sand and water onto Highway 12 on Hatteras Island, which has been, Highway 12 remains closed. So the only access to Hatteras Island, to Cape Hatteras, to Ocracoke, still cut off. The ferries can't run to and from Ocracoke because of the winds. Of course, everybody's talking about those two houses that collapsed in Rodanthe yesterday. There's a line of houses, there's about 9 houses left in that area alone that are threatened, and we could see more of that. Thankfully, we've seen the wave heights coming down a little bit. The tides themselves are down a little bit lower than we were expecting. That's good news, but we're still got a couple of more high tide cycles to go through to deal with that overwash, deal with that sand that's all over Highway 12, and keeping things shut down on Hatteras Island.
And you mentioned those houses are destroyed by this coastal storm. And of course, we tell folks all the time about strengthening their homes and houses ahead of the hurricane season. Are we looking at maybe a more heightened concern here when it comes to maybe some of the other homes that are there around the Outer Banks?
Yes and no. And yes, because there's always things that can be done, whether it's, you know, raising houses, whether it's getting better reinforcement. One thing about the houses here on the Outer Banks, especially the oceanfront homes, you know, you go back to the houses we're dealing with right now, were built in the late 80s, early 90s. They had 300 feet of beach in front of them, a 12-foot high dune. That's all been washed away over time by erosion. But one thing about it, you build houses here to survive coastal storms, to survive tropical storms, to survive hurricanes. So, you know, shoring up more, you think about it when you're getting prepared for a season is, hey, make sure the roof's good to go. If you got to get a new roof. When they build these things, they build them pretty sturdy, and it takes a lot of forces to bring them down. These aren't just little, you know, you aren't dealing with 4x4s holding up these houses. You're dealing by 12x12s and 16x16. Some pretty big lumber holding these things up. So they're pretty sturdy. But as the time goes on, as that sand washes out, obviously you see what's happened to Rodanthe. And that is always a threat. Nice thing we do have coming up, though, is not in that area, Rodanthe, but in places like Avon. We've got a lot of overwash. And you go down there south of the fishing pier at Avon, you've got overwash that's been going on there for quite some time. We got beach nourishment coming there, all the way down to just north of the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. That's coming in a couple of months. Same thing up on the northern beaches. People talk about Nags Head and Kill Hills and Kitty Hawk and Duck and Southern Shores. They're going to get some sand this year to help shore things up. So we're not having to deal with this all up and down the Outer Banks. It's just in some isolated spots. And eventually we'll get a bridge open that's going to bypass one of the trouble spots on Highway 12. That's called the Jug Handle Bridge north of Rodanthe. That should open anytime in the next couple of weeks. It'll help in one location, very well known as S. Curves or Merlo Beach. That'll avoid that area and bypass it. Still some areas north of there as you head up towards Oregon Inlet, there's still problems. And one of the big problems there is up around the Pea Island Visitor Center. So we've got some solutions. We've got some preparation going for the coming season, not just of hurricanes, but those winter storms and those coastal storms that we deal with all the time here on the Outer Banks.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, as we look forward to vacation season, what do you want visitors to know? We only have about 30 seconds.
Rip currents, rip currents, rip currents, rip currents. Know what to do when you get caught in a rip current. When the flags are up, stay out of the water. Check your forecast from the National Weather Service, from the Weather Channel. Sign up for OBX alerts when you come to the Outer Banks. Respect the Beach, Love the Ocean.com is a great resource to learn about staying safe when you're visiting our beaches. And especially you see a storm like this, that shows the power of the ocean. Mother Ocean, she will try everything she can to kill you, but there's always a way to stay safe and avoid being that next tragedy here on the Outer Banks when it comes to rip current safety.
Yes, indeed. Sam Walker of WOBX.com. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Great information, very descriptive, and good information to keep people safe.
All right, our coastal storm, this thing is still hanging around. And you heard Sam talk about the rip currents. That is an issue here for you yet again today, stretching all the way up from parts of the New England coast, all the way down there into the Outer Banks, high risk in a few locations.
Water temperatures are in the 60s down here off the Outer Banks, so it's not that maybe you're tempted to go swimming, but look, that's a really strong longshore current. If you're just standing in the water, it might be moving you downshore, and especially watch kids because they can easily be moved by that water. So stay safe. Rain comes in with this upper level low, this coastal low, as it moves in the end of the week. We're not done with it.